Hello, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Junkies right here in Santa Cruz. A lot of great stuff going on this year, at this time of year, well, this year, but at this time of year. Almost done with 1 month of baseball, hockey playoffs, NBA playoffs coming up, golf. So much stuff we can talk about. And today on the Sports Junkies, we're going to talk about the first month. We're almost at the end of the first month of baseball, so we're going to do a little San Francisco Giants first month review. Let me introduce our Sports Junkies starting pitching staff for today's show. I'm Tom Spookwalter, along with David Frias, Josh Vincent. I almost forgot. See, he's the new guy. He's got to put up with that. Josh Vincent and, of course, Ben Baker. Josh, you're the new guy today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely. All right, well, let's talk a little about our San Francisco Giants. As we stand right now, they're in second place in the National League West. 9 wins, 8 losses as we're taping today. 3.5 games back of the Dodgers, who have gotten off to an incredible start. We can get more into that later, but the Dodgers, they look for real. And Dave, I said, you asked me during the baseball preview, are the Dodgers going to be dangerous?
I did.
They are. I mean, of course,
They're
on the other hand.
right, Tom, but that's not a good thing here.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
We're a Giants country.
Although I will say, I'm not saying they're not legit because they are, but they've also had one of the easiest starts to the schedule in Major League Baseball history. I mean, you play the Padres twice and then the Pirates. You better get off to a good start, and they have.
They'll slow down.
Well, we all hope so. Let's go back to the Giants, though. As I mentioned, second place in the West. Their rankings, offensively, they are 15th in baseball, all of the major leagues, with 71 runs scored. They are 10th in pitching with a 3.28 ERA. Last, however, in defense, you guys, their fielding percentage is 0.969, and they're tied for the most errors, 19 errors, with the Padres and the Orioles, which is interesting since the Orioles are in first place as we speak. Wow. But the Giants off to a rough start. They got swept in the season opening series in Arizona. But since then, they've won 4 straight series, guys, against the Rockies on the road, Pirates at home, Phillies at home, then the Mets, which is always tough on the Giants, going in New York and winning 3 out of 4, including sweeping a doubleheader in New York. So let's go around. Let's start the discussion by being positive here, which is always nice when we're talking about baseball and the Giants. Josh, you're the new guy, so I'm going to throw it to you first.
Sure.
You guys mind if we put him on the spot?
By all means.
Why not?
All right, sure, all right. Hey, Josh, what has been the most positive thing you think you've seen from the Giants so far in 2012?
Well, the most positive thing I can point to is we actually have an offense this year, which is nice. Milky Cabrera is tearing it up. Sherholtz is coming through. We're bringing some of the young guys up, Pill and Belt. In fact, you guys, the double play that happened just the other day, right? That amazing double play.
He's referring to the double play against the Mets on the first game of the Monday doubleheader.
Yeah, Burris to Crawford to Belt.
Timmy.
Those are 3 people that could be on this team for a long, long time, and I think we probably hope they will be.
Yeah. I could
Go ahead,
say that, I've been an outspoken doubter of, throwing Brandon Crawford in the starting role to start the season, because he certainly hasn't really proved himself with the bat, though he's been doing okay this year. And then, defensively, I've kind of been saying, I don't know. People are putting a lot of hype on him, but I'm not sure he's the real deal. But, boy, the season, he might have 4 errors, but he's been making some plays that really make up for that.
Well, sorry, Dave, one said Crawford's stats, 206 average, 1 homer, 8 RBI, 6 doubles.
Wow.
A 231 on base percentage with 2 walks. His numbers, I'd say, Ben, they're coming along. He's here because of his defense. Right. But his offense has shown up at times. He's coming along, but basically he is here for his defense. Go ahead, Dave.
And, the glaring problem from the Giants a year ago was the lack of offense. And now they have the offense, and yet at times they've struggled. Like you were saying earlier, they're 9-8 right now.
Right.
And yet, I guess there was that average where if the Giants scored 4 runs a game, they have a high winning percentage.
Right.
Well, they're taking care of that, but they're still struggling. And there is precaution because right now at the bottom of the order you have Crawford and Burris, and they're doing admirably right now. But that's something that in the future it could be a glaring problem in the lineup. But for now, you have Cabrera. He's doing very well. Pagan's struggling a little bit. Hopefully he gets warmed up. And obviously our best hitter right now is Pablo Sandoval with that 16-game hit streak. 17 now, which is a record to start the season for a Giants player.
And for a San Francisco Giants player, beating none other than Willie Mays.
Yep.
And that right, and he barely made it. That in the 17th game, getting that base hit in the 9th inning, had a Buster Posey's homer. So that was, it's pretty good to see from Paulo Sandoval for sure.
You saw Latos walk him in the 6th inning, right? And that reaction by Panda, like, come on, give me a break. This guy just has been known for hating on the Giants for ridiculous reasons, and then you see him just not wanting Panda to extend the streak.
Latos is emotional and he's competitive. And you got to remember when Latos first came up, that was 2010, and the Padres and Giants were going at it for the NL West, and the Padres are the best team in that division in the entire year until the very end. So, and I see the smirk on Ben's face. Yes,
I
we all
just
know
don't
what
like
happened.
Matt Latos.
We all know what happened.
I'm on Ben's side on this side.
I like Latos. He's just a little fiery. He's a young guy. Was he 23, 24?
Yeah, I mean, he's young. He's still got time to mature and learn. But yeah, I mean, he has blatantly said he doesn't like the Giants. And from what I read in the paper, in the Sporting Green after that game, apparently he was trying to wear off those questions from the media, like, oh, I don't care, But then he handed the Reds broadcasters a ball that said, I hate the Giants. So, whatever. I have one word for Matt Latos. Whatever. Okay. He's a good pitcher. He may not be the best sport in the world, but he is a talented pitcher and someone that has always been tough on the Giants. But yeah, you guys mentioned the hitting. And it's true. I mean, the hitting is right now better than it was last year, especially that first road trip. Even the first 3 games they lost in Arizona, they were scoring some runs. So it is good to see. We'll just hope, again, this is the end of April. We'll hope to see if it lasts, past this first month. But you're right. For now, it is being an encouraging sign. All right, guys. Well, as positive as the hitting's been and the pitching has turned it around, you're going to have a rough first go through the rotation. There are some concerns that you can see on this team. So I want to ask you guys, after this first month, what do you think is the most glaring problem for the Giants so far? And let me list a few that I've thought of and see if you guys have other ones or agree with these. Hitting with runners in scoring position has been a big problem. They're hitting 195 as of this time, 195 with runners in scoring position. They hit a little over 200 the entire year last year with runners, so it's been a problem since last year. Timmy's bad start. He's first 3 starts he was 0-2 with a 10.54 ERA. Looked a little better against the Mets in the first game of that doubleheader, but didn't look completely back. But he did look better. Defense, 19 errors in 17 games. The leader, you mentioned Brandon Crawford. Crawford, Posey, and Sandoval all lead the team with 4 errors. Brett Pill has 2. The leadoff spot, combined Angel Pagan and Gregor Blanco hitting 224. And the first base situation is another interesting thing here going that we can all talk about separately as well. Aubrey Huff hitting 182, Brandon Belt 241, Brett Pill 331. So, and then we'll get into the bullpen and Brian Wilson being out for the year. But before we do that, what do you guys think of these things or anything else has been a real glaring problem that you've seen with the Giants this year? And we're going to start this time with Ben.
Well, there's the errors. And I would say something we're not used to is having a great leadoff hitter. But I think that Pagan has the potential to work his way into that and to be, a real cornerstone of this team. So if he, is just in a slump and he comes out of that, I think that's going to make a huge difference. Now, we're not used to having a great leadoff hitter. Torres had a stretch where he really was that
2010.
guy. 2010. But, besides Torres, it's been kind of we haven't had a lot of great leadoff hitters in the past few years.
Right. I mean, to me, and Joshua, see if you agree with it, to me, I mean, the real last solid leadoff hitter, not counting Kenny Lofton the second half of 2002, but before that, I mean, really, for an entire season, the last solid leadoff hitter we had was way back when we were all kids, Brett Butler.
Oh, he was good.
Yeah.
Hell of a bunter.
That's it.
Yeah.
D-Lou?
He was more defense, though.
What about Marvin Bernard had a nice year.
Who?
Marvin Bernard.
Marvin had a nice year.
Okay, well, yeah, we can tell Marvin Bernard stories till we're blue in the. But yeah, I mean, he was up and down. Bernard was up and down.
Hambone?
Hamilton, yeah, okay.
Oh, Hamilton. Hey.
Okay.
Maybe
I
a
was
little
wrong.
But it hasn't been over a long stretch.
It's been an issue for a long stretch.
But I think Pagan, he had a good series against the Mets, playing against his former team. But
hit a home run.
I think he's coming into a new environment. I think we should give him at least a month. I say by the summer, by July, even the All-Star break, if he struggles, Giants are going to have no choice but to look for an outfielder, leadoff hitter by trade. But then you have Gregor Blanco. He's been on the bench for the most part. So if Bochy decides that let's put Blanco and give him a shot, then I think the Giants should be okay.
Blanco hitting 200 with 2
Limited
RBIs, and even 200 with 2 RBIs, 333 on base percentage, 4 walks. That's a pretty good on base. A 333 on base percentage is pretty good for a 200 batting average.
Yeah.
And then
Limited
just
playing time.
Yeah, and just to compare with Angel Pagan, Pagan at 232, 1 homer, 3 ribbies, a 274 on base percentage. Again, 4 walks, but that 274 on base percentage, there's a glaring issue right there at the top of the lineup. Okay, Josh, what about you?
Well, are we talking about the weaknesses here?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Glaring weaknesses.
Glaring weaknesses. Definitely,
and again,
definitely the defense.
And again, this is just through 1 month of the season.
Through 1 month, yeah. It's a marathon, not a sprint, so we have to keep that in mind.
There you go.
Marty Lurie, ladies and gentlemen. Okay.
Life ain't a track meet, it's a marathon.
No, it's definitely the defense. I mean, this team should not be making that many errors, but some of them have been they've been tough errors. Like Posey had a throwing error when he got slid into.
Right.
Crawford's got some horrible hops this first month of the season. And you mentioned how you maybe question his defense a little bit. I think he's an incredible defender. I think he's like
I agree.
top shelf.
Yeah, he's really impressed me this season.
Yeah.
And last year, when he was up last year, we took over for Tejada. I mean, you could tell the difference right there when Crawford started playing and Tejada started sitting. You could see the difference right there.
Yeah, and he may not be able to hit much, but I would take a 250 hitter if he can play that kind of defense. Well, which he's not. But
And right now, the offense has his back. I mean, everybody's making up for it.
Yeah, and if you got a top 5 guys like that, or top 4 or 5 guys, maybe going down through Schierholtz or Huff or whoever's there, that's a really good top end of the lineup, and it starts with 3 switch hitters. I mean, you can't beat that.
Right.
If they're hitting, no, you can't.
Yeah. I think for the most part, Buster Posey and Crawford, I think eventually they'll cut down on the errors. The glaring, I guess, as far as on the field, the glaring problem is Pablo Sandoval. He's still inconsistent. I mean, we're just going to have to accept that, because of the great bat Sandoval has. Right. But he is a little bit erratic in his throws and, in his angles, getting the line drives.
Weight back too.
And that as well. So I think that's something we'll have to live with. But it's been a thorn, I guess, in Sandoval's career. We're just going to have to accept it. But for the most part, I think the defense will shape up. Particularly.
No, I agree with you, Dave. I think the defense will shape up. I mean, it is concerning when both halves of the left side of the diamond lead the team in errors. Crawford and Sandoval tied with Posey. With Posey, with 4 errors. That's a little concerning. It's like if you're on the other team, okay, guys, hit the ball to the left side, because they keep dropping it. So that's a little, but again, like Dave was saying, they've not made an error since Saturday when Buster Posey threw the ball down the line and that was the end of the game. They have not made an error now as of this taping date in 4 straight days. So maybe it's starting to shape up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Crawford is one of these guys who, there's a lot of players that honestly kind of pad their stats a little bit by not going after those balls that are really hard and they don't think they'll get to, but Crawford gets to some of those balls, in the gap, and he makes the plays that, to me, that definitely makes up for the errors. Every time you get somebody out that otherwise another shortstop would have let get on base. To me, that's you can take an error off the board every time that happens.
For me, you guys all mentioned the defense as your glaring problem. Although Dave, I agree with Dave that it's going to eventually, because it did last year.
They'll settle down,
It will settle down. Yeah. They're settling and start playing. You'd like to see it right away, but they will.
Sure.
So they'll start playing. For me, you guys, it's hitting with runners in scoring position. I mean, the number of runners they have left out there on base. A lot of these games that they lost, they could have easily, if not easily, at least they should have won the game or at least been in them. Like yesterday, they were the first game against the Reds, they were 0 for 6 with running in scoring position, 0 for 5 in the first 2 innings. And you look at it was 2-0 after 1 inning. You look at that game, they scored. It became a blowout later in the game, but they scored those runs early. Who knows? Especially because Matt King righted himself after giving up the 2-run homer to Brandon Phillips. But 195 average after 17 games with runners in scoring position. They leave them out there all the time. Aubrey Huff does nothing with guys in scoring position. Brandon Crawford, I don't think has a hit this year with runners in scoring position yet. This is something to me that, because it's, like we said, the defense will shore up because it did last year. Right. It never really got solved last year either. And it's even worse so far the first month of the season. So for me, they got to find a way to get those guys in. Especially when you have a pitching staff like the Giants do, who's turned it around and keep them in every games. You can pitch as well as you want, but if you don't score runs, you're not going to win. So the pitching's going to keep them in it, but they have to find a way to get these runs in from second and third base. And I don't know about you guys, but I get very frustrated watching, second runner on second with nobody out. Okay, nothing happens.
This really has been a glaring problem for years now. They need to hit smarter. I'm tired of seeing guys swing at the first pitch and not really put good bat on the ball. They've had that problem. Panda was the scapegoat for that for a long time.
Yeah.
And if you work the count, if you get these pitchers where they're overthinking what they're going to throw, then it puts you in a better position to win the game.
Well, and here's the thing. You mentioned, it's been a problem for a while. 2011, I mentioned they hit 219 with runners in scoring position. Their World Series championship year 2010, which is it just me doing reference that year way too much? They hit 248 with runners in scoring position, so not great, but it's been a lot better than it's been the last 2 years. And back to 2009, they hit 245 with runners in scoring position. So it's been a problem, especially 2011 and so far this year. How do you, Dave? How do you go about fixing that?
I think it's just the approach. I think Ben hit a great point. Just have smart at bats and being more patient and getting the right pitch. Because if you have runners in scoring position and you're hitting a fly ball to the infield or something like that, you're not even advancing the runners. And that's something where I would have thought the Giants would have worked on that during spring training. I think maybe it's the price of having great pitching. Is that players? I don't know what it is. They feel like, well, we got 3 runs. I think we'll be fine.
Thing?
It could be a mental thing, and you would think that the Giants, Saban, he wanted to get a quicker, speedier, more singles type hitters. And I said Cabrera's been doing all right. Pagan, like I said, is still struggling. Right. And then you have the pop with Sandoval and Posey, and I think eventually that's going to really help because Posey with that extra bat that the Giants didn't have last year. So I think the average is going to go up. But I just think they got to just, at the least, if you make an out, make it a positive out instead of just, leaving runners on base frequently.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's something that as good as your pitching is, as good as they're scoring runs everywhere else, you get to a big game down the stretch drive and into the playoffs, you're not getting a wing if you don't get those clutch hits. That's how, and I'm going to reference it one more time. That's how they won in 2010, besides the pitching. They got the clutch hits in the playoffs when they needed them.
Yeah, and the bottom of that order is kind of looking weak. It's tough for the pitchers to take guys like Crawford and Burris seriously. They can just throw them fastballs and not have to, worry too much about these guys, even with runners on base. And that's a big hole in the lineup right there. Okay,
well let's go. Let's move on here to the first base situation because that's a bit of an issue that's been coming up besides the errors and the runners in scoring position. First base right now, to me, is a major problem. You got Aubrey Huff, who pretty much looks like he might be done. I mean, he's out there. He's hitting 182. Yeah, literally. 154, by the way, with runners in scoring position is Aubrey Huff. 1 homer, 4 ribbies, 300 on-base percentage, 6 walks. He just doesn't. He can't seem to get locked in the way he was a couple of years ago. We saw all last year. All in the first half of the season last year, I kept waiting for him to bounce back. I said, okay, he's going to turn it around. It's early. He's going to turn it around. Never did. Except for that 3-home run game in St. Louis. He never did. This year, opening day at home, he hits a home run, but that's about it. That's all he's really done. He's just not, I don't know if he's not comfortable up there, he's not locked in, or he's just done. But I honestly, I hate to say it, because I will always love Aubrey Huff for what he did for us in 2010. I don't expect him to last the season in San Francisco. I think they could release him before, like they did with Rowan and Tejada.
Well, if one thing I'll give credit for. Yeah. Even if he is kind of hitting like a black hole, just having his presence there is enough maybe to make Belt and Pill a little more comfortable, especially Pill, a guy who hasn't gotten hardly any experience at the major league level yet. Right. It's just there's a presence of someone there who might be able to hit well when they're struggling. I think it's good to have him around.
Yeah, he is a veteran presence, and I think about Huff is what I admire about one of the things I admire about Huff is that he's always been a professional. Like if he's not going to get to play, he's rooting for the guy who is playing. Yeah. He's for the team.
He's certainly not a cancer to the clubhouse.
No, absolutely not. I mean, he made the joke, when Belt started on opening day last year. Oh, look, you're stealing my job. But he was totally kidding. I think. Yeah. I mean, he's a good teammate, and that's good. And I think that's the reason you keep him on the team. But eventually, if he's not producing and his contract is up at the end of the year, they can fill his roster spot with a guy who will produce as good as a teammate as he is. Let's look at Belt and Pill for a second, because they also play first base, obviously. Really? No. Brandon Belt hitting 241, no homers, 2 RBIs, 353 on base percentage, hitting 111 with runners in scoring position. Brett Pill, 350 limited playing time, but he's hit 353, 1 homer, 3 ribbies. Look at this on base percentage, 450.
Wow.
Yeah. And 333 with runners in scoring position. Dave, your thoughts?
You know, from looking at the stats, it looks like Brandon Pill has the better bat, and he seems more comfortable. And, you know, it's kind of frustrating because it's like, once again, Brandon Belt is struggling to start the season. And we know the potential that he has. You know, he dominated in college at Texas and in the minor leagues. That's why he was called up last year so early. But it seems like he's still struggling just to get going in the major leagues. And we know that once he gets on a hot streak, it could be today, it could come, a few months, it could come next year. But you know, when he gets hot, everyone's going to say, you know, there's our future first baseman.
Well,
but for now, you know, we still got this issue with Huff, which I think, you know, he's 35 years old, but he's playing like he's 39, like he's at the end of his career.
Yeah.
And Pill, I mean, I would out of the three, I would like to see Pill. I mean, Pill more playing at
I'd
first
like to
base.
see Pill more too, just based on his stats, at least till he cools off. See what you've got. Because right now, out of the 3 of them, he's having, just forget hitting, he's having the best at bats. I mean, Brandon Belt does not look like, it looks like a deer in headlights up there. He's not having good at bats. He's getting out on the first pitch. He's swinging. He's got holes in his swing. He just does not look comfortable up there enough to have a good at bat. And that's what this team needs, especially when they're leaving all these guys on base. They need good at bats. Like you watched that first game in Cincinnati, even though they didn't score that inning, Posey, late in the game, Posey and Sandoval had great at bats, ended up drawing walks, and then they got nothing. But still, those were really great at bats.
Yeah, I would agree. There's definitely a logjam at first, and Aubrey Huff is the 3rd best first baseman. I mean, you've got to give one of those 2 guys, Pill or Belt, playing time and see what they can do for you. And I'd like to point out that Aubrey Huff is also the 3rd best second baseman on the team after that little discussion.
I'm a better second baseman on the team than he is. I'm not even on the team.
Says a lot, Tom.
Sign him up.
But I think
No offense,
Pill's
Aubrey.
the guy. I think Pill's the guy you got to give at bats to, in my opinion. Belt's good, but Pill is the hitter in that group, I think.
Well, Ben, let me ask you this. Does Huff last the season?
I would not be surprised if he doesn't. I would say that's
Just because his contract's up at the end of the year. I like what you said about the veteran presence. I just don't think,
I feel like it's kind of 50-50 at best. What I was going to mention is there's always a lot of hype around rookies and stuff, but the truth is, more often than not, a player takes a few years to develop.
That's a good point.
There's been a lot of pressure on Belt to just step in and be this guy. And of course, every Giants fan that's been a Giants fan for a few years now is a bandwagoner.
Who are you calling bandwagon?
None of us. But
bandwagon.
Mumbled it.
But we've all been. At least I'm one of these guys who's always like, we need a 30 home run guy. And there's anyone who's been in a fantasy baseball league with me knows I always go for these guys that are big dudes that can hit them really far. And I see Pill being that guy actually more than Belt. Belt seems to me like he might take a little time to develop, but I think he's going to be a really strong hitter too. And now they kind of, since Belt can play left field too, they have this great 4 outfielder flexibility where if Scherholtz is having a cold streak or, Pagan gets injured or Cabrera, something or other, they can put Belt in there.
Although Belt, by the way, might be the best defensive first baseman that they have. Pill's probably been a hitter at this point, but Belt's better defensively.
But so what that is you don't even really need Huff around because that gives you, as it is, that means one of those 5 guys is going to be sitting out every day. So if they rotate those guys as it is, then they've got a lot of potential there. They don't necessarily need Huff to be
real quick, guys, I can't believe time goes fast when you're having fun talking Giants baseball. We're running out of time here. Real quick, what does it change if you think that you would make to help improve this team, improve the lineup, improve the team in general? Real quick, we'll go with Dave. We haven't started with you yet, so go ahead.
This is something that I think for now, I think it's fine with the roster, but I think eventually we're going to need another reliever. We're going to definitely need
especially with Wilson out.
Yeah, we might have to do that random closer kind of thing because there was that game, I think it was against the Mets. They had to use Friday's win. They had to use 5 relievers, and they had to go to extra innings, and you can't last the whole season doing that. You're going to wear out the bullpen. So I think eventually we need another closer reliever.
I'd like to see them call up Heath Hembry, personally. Don't start him out as the closer because that's a lot of pressure for a team that's contending. But work him into the bullpen, see how he does, and then ease him into the closer role like they did with Wilson, and see what you have, because if Wilson comes back next year, he's a free agent at the end of the year anyway. All right, well, the one thing, we got to wrap this up, but the one thing I'd like to see, and we talk about this more next time, is maybe do a flip-flop and have Sandoval hit third, Posey hit third and Sandoval fourth, because Sandoval is the guy that's going to hit more home runs. So put him in the cleanup hole. Posey's your best all-around hitter, but maybe not while they're hot. Maybe if they both cool down, they're both ripping right now, so it's working. But if they both calm down, flip them in the order. All right, guys, that was a lot of fun. I can't believe we ran out of time so fast. Josh, thank you so much for joining us. You're always
Thanks
welcome.
for having me.
And we'll be back for more Sports Junkies, more baseball.